It's so funny. You go to a group of women and they're like, you know what? You need to treat your man better. That's never their advice. Their advice is never. You know what you ought to do? Why don't you try being quiet and like listening to your man?
What I notice is either you talk about this with girls and then have a dry season, or just kind of accept astrology and then and then text her at 11:11, just to give her that this is the sign that it's meant to happen. You know what I mean?
It's really funny. I tell guys astrology's bullshit, and then I tell guys if you want to use astrology to hook up with women, do it. I have no problem with you doing it.
Use the.
It's like social media is fake, and I'm okay with that. Astrology is bullshit. I'm okay with that because the girls are real, so I don't have a problem with that.
The result is definitely real.
Absolutely. Oh my God, you know what I noticed about you? You just have this awesome energy. My girlfriend hit me up last night, and I didn't feel like calling her out on this, but she was at a bar she used to work at. She's in Houston right now visiting her family, and she went to a place where she used to work. And there's a guy in there who's like a former NFL player, and he starts talking to her, and he's like, you know what's so crazy? You just have like this amazing energy about you, and this amazing way that you look at life. And she's like telling me the story, and it's like very obvious to those of you watching the show.
Yeah.
Obvious to me, this guy was just hitting on her.
Yeah. Of course.
And he's like, I want you to be part of this movie or whatever. And my girlfriend is incredibly talented, a terrific singer, and fantastically beautiful. But that's not why he was saying this. He's saying this because he's trying to smash.
Yeah.
Right.
And in her mind, like she didn't see that. And so,
he's just being nice.
He's just being nice. Like, but they don't grasp that concept. But what he's doing is basically whatever he has to do. He's using whatever tactic he needs in order to like the fact that she's telling me the story in the first place means that what he did had some effectiveness to it. But that's what men do. Like men who are really good with women, they understand. I'm just going to speak their language, and their language has no basis in reality and total basis in feelings. Now, I tend to not do that. What I do instead is I use pre-selection. I hit the pre-selection button. I run the pre-selection play probably too much, which is why I'm really good at it and which is why I'm able to teach it. I would just rather be myself, be surrounded by women, and have women be attracted to me, even though I play video games, rescue cats, and go to the gym 6 days a week and run a business where I talk about, crazy. I would rather a woman just be accepting of that because she's outrageously attracted to me because she sees other women attracted to me. I'd just rather live life like that than trying to like be an asshole or run astrology game on her or like bark at her or try to do negs or pick up. I'd rather just not do that. I'd rather just be attractive.
Well, that's a lot of work for no reason.
Mentioned barking, because I've seen some guys try that tactic nowadays.
Try to show their alphaness.
It's pretty amazing. It really is amazing. Like the problem isn't that it doesn't work because it hardly ever works. The problem is when it does work. Like do you understand how f***ed up a woman has to be to like go fall for that?
That's hilarious.
And then number
because
two
that is
is
actually
like
the same situation I'm thinking of right now.
Yeah,
it actually worked.
And like the problem is she's now encouraging that behavior, which is like ruining men. You know what I'm saying? Like the worst thing in the world that could happen is for you to go to the roulette wheel and hit big, because then you're addicted to gambling, right? That's like the worst possible scenario. The worst possible scenario is that you do something stupid like start barking at a woman and it actually works one time, because then you film it and everybody else starts doing it, and you just incentivize the population to do something stupid.
Sometimes these nonsense things will work, and then but a lot of times I also see women will give each other like these dope advices, and somehow it makes sense in their head, and I'm like, why would you say that? Like, why would you say you like someone if you hate them?
I know what you're referring to. Men, we generally don't do this as much. We generally like if there's four guys in a room and there's a fifth guy, and the fifth guy goes, yeah, my girlfriend cheated on us, the four guys who are not in that relationship all kind of say, you need to break up with her because she cheated on you, and that's bad. We kind of understand. What we don't do is look at our buddy and be like, she doesn't deserve you, bro. You're a fucking champ. You know what? You know why she cheated on you? Because your cock is too big and she just can't take a big fat cock. We don't say stupid like that to our fucking guy friends. We're like, yo, bro, pick yourself up. We're going to go to the gym and we're just going to become better. Women do this, unfortunately, when guys ghost them or when guys break up with them. They start telling them, he didn't deserve you. You're just too much of an alpha. He couldn't handle a bad. No, he had a preference for some peace in his life, and that's why he didn't deal with you, or you weren't physically attractive enough. And women don't tell each other that, and so because of that, they end up in this downward spiral. Next thing you know, they're 35 and they don't have a man, and they're unhappy because they believed their friend's terrible advice. He was intimidated by you. That dude was not intimidated by you.
I really liked hearing PBD said this the other day. He said, talking about him and his wife's dynamic, I'm like, when I go to my friends and I start talking to them, if I ever talk to them about my relationship, my friends, majority of the time, unless you did something outrageous, they're defending you. Tell me, don't f up. You're going to lose this good girl. Like, don't keep acting like an asshole. On the other hand, a lot of women's friends will go and do exactly what you're saying. Oh, he doesn't deserve you. This and that, usually bashing the man.
It's so funny. Yeah, women are never, you go to a group of women and they're like, you know what, you need to treat your man better. That's never their advice. Their advice is never, You know what you ought to do? Why don't you try being quiet and like listening to your man who's like actually giving you good advice? It's never women's advice to tell them that.
You mentioned the delusion calculator. There's that 6'6", right? 6-pack abs, 6 foot tall. There's this whole thing where back in the day, you kind of had to dodge a saber-toothed tiger. So you couldn't have been 6 foot tall because the tiger would have eaten you, right? And it's kind of been demonstrated with bonobos. When in a zoo, these bonobos grow like, you know, the male bonobos select the other bonobos that have bigger asses and like they look completely different. Where when in wild, they probably would not be able to run as fast and the lion would eat them, right? So we don't have that anymore, right? Like there's no more of the saber-toothed tiger, no more you're gonna die. So there's still that 6 foot tall, like this arbitrary number of 6 foot tall, not so much in Europe or in South America, but there's that also that 1 meter 80 centimeter and then above, which is kind of what 6 foot is, right? Like where does that come into play? Like how does this make, it really makes no sense to me scientifically, you know what I mean? How does this make sense to female?
The height thing comes from, one of the things is height is what's called an honest indicator. You can't really fake it. You can't now. People are having surgery on their tibias and fibulas and making themselves 3 inches taller, and they're wearing those shoes that make them taller. So you can definitely do it from that standpoint, but it's what's called an honest indicator, where I can lie about like things on social media. I can lie to you about how much money I have. Men can often lie about their sexual prowess, all kinds of things like that. There's certain things that are honest indicators that you can't lie about, and that is like a man's like physical attractiveness and how tall he is like probably the main one. Right. How tall he is carries some genetic information that women want from the sexy sons hypothesis, so that they have tall children, so that other women find their tall children attractive. Also, men will have children with women, and their children will not be the same height as those men, but they will be taller. So this is the reason why women like men who are taller than average, so they can have children that are taller than average. Once you get above 6'3", you start seeing diminishing returns. At 6'6", it starts to really plummet. Like women don't really want men who are 6'7". Most women don't. Once you get to that height, you start having like, there's certain problems, like quality of life issues. I'm not like, unless you like want to date an NBA player, once you get to like 7'1", we're like, it starts to really fall off. Like a lot of women just don't want to date a guy who's 7 feet tall. So it gets to that point where it's just like too big, right? They're too tall.
In this, and sorry to cut you off here. Just a funny thought. You mentioned that the girls date the guys that are taller so that they have taller children. What if it's a girl? Yes. Do you guys tend to like taller women?
I don't give
no.
I don't care how tall she is.
We don't care, but that's not the issue. Is like between the two, if she were to have sex with a taller man to have a child, a woman doesn't hurt her. A tall man only helps her. So there's no risk to her if she were to do that. So that's why women find that more attractive. Now, the second thing is, where does that come from? And that is from the idea of protection. Taller men throughout history have had somewhat of an advantage. You see, like, it's something they discuss in boxing, like someone having a good reach. Yeah. But the reality of the situation is the men who can protect you today, because most men are 5'9", 5'10", whatever. If you were to look at MMA fighters, professional boxers, or guys who are Navy SEALs, most of them are under 6 feet tall. Recon Marines, most of them are under 6 feet tall. And those are the most dangerous, like by definition, the most dangerous humans on the planet. So the concept of he needs to be able to be over 6 feet tall to protect me isn't real. So that part is irrational. That part is irrational. But the part about like the genetic, like if you see a guy who's 6'3", he has the genetics of a person who's 6'3". That's impossible to fake. So that's the reason why women do, from an evolutionary standpoint, why they find those men to be so attractive.